Hey there, everybody. Welcome back to Good Orderly Direction, Practical Tools of the Bible. I'm your host, Dr. Donna Lee Snipes. Today we're discussing salt and light from Matthew chapter 5. You are the salt of the earth, but if salt loses its flavor, how shall it be seasoned? Is it then good for nothing but to be thrown out and trampled underfoot? All right, well, this one sounds kind of harsh. And it's important to look at it from a trauma-informed perspective. Salt doesn't ever cease to become salt, but it may lose its flavor. It loses its effectiveness after it can get used up. Salt can't renew itself like humans can. Salt is used for flavoring and for preserving. So, okay, let's think about that. You are the salt of the earth. So, how do you flavor God's kingdom on earth? What is it that you bring? What talents, what skills do you bring that help flavor, that help shape the community that you're in? And we all have unique talents that are supposed to help the kingdom run more effectively. And how do you preserve God's kingdom as the salt of the earth? Sometimes we say somebody's salty if they're a little bit cantankerous, but sometimes being the salt of the earth means saying, I don't think I'm better than you, and this is what I'm going to do. I am going to be earnest in what I think is right. What causes salt to lose its flavor? And I think this is really important because, again, salt itself, it's an element, and once the flavor's gone, at a certain point, it's not as effective as at preserving and doing other things. Don't know a lot about salt. I'm not a chemist. But when we think about humans flavoring and preserving the community, you're putting a lot out there, putting a lot of energy, using your skills, using your talents. But when you're too exhausted, when you're burned out and you can't flavor and preserve the community anymore, what good are you? And I don't mean that to be mean. I mean that to say, Jesus is saying, wake up. You need to take care of yourself. You need to be respectful of yourself and compassionate to yourself in order to stay salty, in order to be able to continue to flavor and preserve. Because once you get burned out, you ain't any good to anybody. It doesn't mean you should be thrown out and trampled, but it means that your calling is harder for you to fulfill. How do you keep yourself from losing your flavor? Well, let's think about prudence. Why does taking care of yourself and burnout prevention, self-care, how does it make sense for you and your community or the kingdom? If you are able to participate, if you're able to help, if you're able to use your talents, then it supports the community, it supports the kingdom. If you let yourself get burned out, then not only does the kingdom, the community lose your talents, your flavor and your preservation skills, but they also have to now start investing energy trying to get you healthy again. So it's twice as bad than as if you had taken time for yourself. And I know so often people feel like they shouldn't take time for themselves. Other people have it worse. Well, yeah, that's true. Always, unfortunately, in our world, somebody else is going to have it worse. But if you get burned out, then you're not going to be any good, and you're going to be one of those people that has it worse. It makes sense for you and the kingdom that you take care of yourself and keep yourself from getting burned out. Endurance helps us develop the ability to push through. And when we talk about keeping salt from losing its flavor, often it's not developing the skills to push through and endure and continue to give even though it hurts and we're tired. No, what we're talking about enduring here is the guilt. the self-talk that we give ourselves when we say we should be doing more. No, we need to learn how to endure the distress that we experience when we take time off to care for ourselves. And I know that sounds contradictory, but it's important to think about that. For many people who've been programmed that it's not okay to take a break, taking a break is actually pretty freaking stressful. So endurance says, push through. This is what needs to be done for all righteousness. Respect is another thing that you demonstrate by taking care of yourself. You're respecting your needs. You're respecting your community. You're saying, hey, I don't want to become a drain on you, and I want to continue to be able to help, which means I need to recharge. And in today's society, it's so easy to make the analogy of a cell phone. A cell phone is nothing but a paperweight if you let it run out of charge. And you're nothing but a paperweight if you run out of energy, if you get burned out. So it's important to be able to take time out to recharge your battery so you're available to provide the services that you've been put on this earth to provide. So you need to respect yourself enough to listen to yourself and do what's necessary. And that's also respectful for the community. Forgiveness. Well, yeah, this is another one. When we hold on to anger and resentment and guilt, which is also a form of anger, we use a lot of energy. Now, does that make a lot of sense? Does it make a lot of sense to use a bunch of energy over here when we could be using it to enhance the community? To feed a bunch of energy into negativity when we could be using it to heal the community, heal ourselves. Forgiveness is important because when we hold on to those resentments and those judgy behaviors, it drains our energy and it creates negativity within the community, within the kingdom. And that's not what God wanted. Now remember, forgiveness doesn't mean saying, it's okay. It means saying, what's done is done, and I'm choosing not to continue to invest energy in it. I will use that energy instead to learn how to prevent it from the future, to learn how to stay safe in the future. But I'm not going to continue to throw energy back into the past. I'm going to use it to move forward. Earnestness. When we do what we need to do to prevent burnout, we are giving 100% to making sure that we can do the job. Not giving 100% of ourselves doing the job until we're burned out. We're doing 100% to make sure that we can do the job. Think about a machine or a car. Most of us have cars, and you're supposed to take it in to get the oil changed periodically and for tune-ups periodically. That is keeping the car from losing its flavor, losing its ability to do its job. Is it inconvenient sometimes? Yeah, but it needs to be done. And we need to earnestly follow those recommendations in order to keep our car going for as long as possible. Compassion. When we do things for ourselves, and yes, I know I paused for a long time there. I want you to listen. When we do things for ourselves, when we recognize our thoughts, wants, and needs compassionately, it helps us be mindful of what they are and meet those needs so it doesn't drain us. We'll go back to the metaphor of the vehicle. If you're driving along on your car and you hear this rattling kind of every time you accelerate or something just doesn't feel right, if you don't pay attention to it, eventually the car's probably going to break down because whatever that problem was is going to get worse and cause a breakdown. Compassion is the same in humans. We need to pay attention to that rattling here and there and address it, being compassionate with ourselves. If we need a day off, saying, I ain't got it in me today. If we need comfort, saying, you know what, I need a hug, or I need somebody to listen to me. Showing compassion for yourself is actually compassionate to the whole community because you're taking care of yourself so you can be recharged to be able to help preserve and flavor them. Truthfulness. You got to be truthful with yourself in order to avoid losing your flavor. You're put here for a reason. You're who you are for a reason. And living authentically, living in a way that's in line with your beliefs and your values and what is meaningful to you is important. It is important. And being truthful and living authentically, then people don't have to guess, well, is she telling the truth? Is she just telling me what I want to hear? Can I depend on her? No, if you're authentic, then people know where they stand. If you're truthful with people about what you can and can't do, what you do and don't want, it creates a level of intimacy in your relationships and a level of trust that you can't have if somebody's not authentic. And finally, selflessness. And I know, selflessness and self-care, how do they go together? Just like we've been talking about. If we recognize, yes, I want to help you right now, but using truthfulness and self-compassion and prudence, I'm aware that helping you right now is not the best thing for me to do because I'm exhausted and I just can't do one more thing. Recognizing that, recognizing how you impact other people. If I fall down, who do I bring down with me? If I recharge, who can I build up with me? How does the community impact me? And how do I impact the community? And likewise, losing your flavor may also, mean self-care, and selflessness may also be willing to swallow your pride and ask for help instead of saying, I got this, I can do everything. Saying, you know what? I need some help here. And that's okay. If this channel helps you learn more about good orderly direction and discover ways to love yourself and others and deal with life on life's terms, please like the video and subscribe to the channel.